brake for the car and, "John, please tell me what's happening." Whoosh! We were thrown into total darkness as the power shut off. Jessica screamed as I stepped back against the wall, holding my arms out in front of me. I began to make my way toward her when the room suddenly lit up. I shielded my eyes and looked in the direction of the light, which was coming from Jessica's phone sitting on the table. It was a message from me. I reached down and patted my pocket, feeling for my phone before groaning. I left it in the car. The caption, 2 for 1. I jumped as a loud creak resonated throughout the house. Jessica gasped, and I clamped my hand over her mouth, listening. I recognized the creak as the loose floorboard directly inside the front door. I ducked into the pantry as the kitchen suddenly filled with light. Coming from what I could only guess was the flashlight on my phone. A dark figure stepped into view, and I quickly closed the pantry door, the harsh white light from the phone seeping in through the crack. I heard the familiar ding as he began recording, humming softly. "I'm gonna hold him off. You make a break for the back door," I whispered, the light getting closer and the footsteps getting louder. Thump, thump, thump. "John, no. Don't argue. It's our only chance," I snapped, jumping slightly as he threw open the closet door directly across from us. Thump, thump, thump. The light was shining through the crack so brightly now that I could make out Jessica's face, tears gleaming from her cheeks. I didn't know if I was going to make it out of this, but I had to make sure she did. Nothing else mattered. Thump, thump, thump. The footsteps paused in front of the pantry, the shadow of the figure seeping into the room. Ding. I started breathing heavily, standing and facing the door. The humming was barely muffled by the door, but it was clear that he was right outside, finishing the high notes. I watched the doorknob slowly turn, Jessica gasping behind me. Adrenaline pumped through my veins as the door began to open and I threw myself against it, smashing the solid wood into the man's face. "Ooh!" he cried out and stumbled backwards. "Jessica!" I yelled and sprinted at the man, who began to raise his gun. I planted my shoulder into his chest and tackled him back into the counter. Bang, bang. I groaned as his fist slammed into my head repeatedly. I had no way of seeing when the blows were coming, and I begun to lose my grip on the gun that he dropped. The blows kept coming and coming, filling my mouth with blood. I threw my elbow back and caught him in the nose. Crack! He groaned as his nose snapped and has lost his grip on the gun, falling back. I grabbed the gun and turned to where he was, or to where I thought he was. Bang! The instant light from the muzzle flash revealed that he was right next to me, wearing a balaclava stained with red. I turned once again and fired a shot, the window above his head shattering and glass pieces falling to the floor. He planted his foot into my stomach and pushed me backwards. I yelled as the gun slipped out of my hand and skittered across the floor into darkness. "Die!" A deep voice growled, picking up the phone and shining the light at me, blinding me momentarily. Ding! As soon as the video began recording, he was on me, pressing his free hand into my throat while shining the blinding light in my face. I gasped as his hand cut off my windpipe, clawing at his arms as I choked for air. The light moved closer to my face, but to me it was beginning to fade. I coughed as my final breaths began to leave me, arms swinging wildly. I winced as something cut my knuckles that I recognized as a piece of broken glass. My fingers grasped it and held it tightly, cutting my palm. I grunted as I put all my reaming strength into kicking upwards, catching the psychopath in the groin. He groaned and momentarily let go of my throat and the phone. I stood as quickly as I could and hobbled towards the back door, leaving the gurgling man behind me. I stumbled out the back door and collapsed on the grass, gasping for air. I could hear police sirens in the distance. My face rested on the cool grass, breathing heavily as I regained myself. "Ma'am, are you there?" a voice said behind me. I slowly turned my head to see Jessica's phone laying in the grass, a 911 call still running. A limp body lay next to it, hand outstretched towards the phone. Jessica, I called out, slowly dragging myself towards the body as the sirens grew closer, pulling onto my street. The grass became wetter and wetter as I pulled myself closer to her. The ambulance took us both to St. Andrew's Hospital. Jessica was brought into surgery immediately. The doctors said the bullet missed her vital organs, but their main concern was the amount of blood she lost. The cops told me that the man was nowhere to be found when they searched the house, only signs of a struggle and a whole lot of blood. I sat numbly in the hospital waiting room, replaying the events of the night over and over in my head. A doctor finally emerged from the operating room, his expression grim. My heart dropped. "I'm sorry, we did everything we could, but she lost too much blood. Jessica didn't make it." I collapsed into the chair behind me, tears flooding my eyes. I thought back to our last moment together, her terrified face illuminated by the flashlight. I should have protected her. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I considered throwing it against the wall, but something compelled me to look. With shaking hands, I pulled it out. A notification for a new Snapchat story update from Richie. Impossible. A video popped up, showing Jessica lying motionless on the operating table, doctors swarming around her. The caption read, "Could have saved her if you cared." What? How could he have recorded this? My phone buzzed again. With trembling hands, I opened yet another Snapchat notification from Richie, a selfie of him in the hospital parking garage, wearing a doctor's coat, an ID badge, and a mask covering his injuries. Another caption. "Thanks for the ride. She didn't make it.